Platinum Jubilee celebration marking 70 years that Queen Elizabeth II has been on the throne in the United Kingdom. I saw Negroes all across England. I saw Negroes all across the United Kingdom. I saw Africans all across Europe celebrating and honoring Queen Elizabeth II of the British Empire. Queen Elizabeth II of the British Empire assumed the throne, the monarchy of England, on June the 6th, 1952. She assumed the throne of England on June 6, 1952. I graduated high school June the 6th, 1992. So when I graduated high school on June the 6th, 1992, she had already been on the throne for 40 years. June 6, 1952, she gets the throne. June 6, 1992, King Kong consciousness, graduates high school. She has been on the throne for 70 years. She was 26 on June 6, 1952. She was 26 on June 6, 1952. I am at a loss to understand why Africans in the UK, I'm at a loss to understand why Africans in the Caribbean islands, I'm at a loss to understand why Africans in America and around the world are celebrating 70 years of British white supremacy, imperialism, and African domination symbolized by Queen Elizabeth II. I'm trying to understand why any African on the planet Earth would be celebrating the British monarchy. The British monarchy more than any other European family. The British monarchy more than any other enslaver of African people is responsible for the greatest number of enslaved Africans. They are responsible for the greatest burden that slavery put on the backs of African people. Why in the hell are we celebrating the face of white supremacy? For those of you who do not know, when the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the greatest Pan-Africanist of all time and the greatest human organizer in world history, when he brought forth the largest black organization in modern history, the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League in 1914, at the time Garvey founded the UNIAACL, the British Empire controlled 25% of the world's population. I want to say this again. I need you to understand, overstand, and understand me. I want you to understand, overstand, and understand me. When Garvey created the UNIAACL, the British Empire controlled 25% of the entire population of the planet Earth. When the most honorable Marcus Garvey held his first international convention of the African peoples of the world at Madison Square Garden in August of 1920, during the first Great Garvey Convention in New York City during Leo's season of 1920, the British Empire controlled 25% of all the land and the resources on the planet Earth. I need us to understand this. The greatest enslaver of African people was the British Empire. The greatest dominator of African people was the British Empire. The greatest thief and exploiter and monopolizer and controller of African resources was the British Empire. So can somebody help me understand why any African on the face of the earth would be celebrating the monarchy of a woman who, during her reign as the Queen of England and the monarch of the British Empire since the age of 26, June 6, 1952, Queen Elizabeth II was on the throne when Dedan Kimathi of the Kenyan Land and Freedom Army was assassinated. Let me say this again, because y'all don't understand, overstand, and understand the Prince of Pan-Africanism right now. When Dedan Kimathi was executed in 1957, when Dedan Kimathi was fighting the British for control of the land of Kenya, Queen Elizabeth II was on the throne. Dedan Kimathi was executed upon the permission and authority of Queen Elizabeth II. Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown under the authority of Queen Elizabeth II. Chris Ani of South Africa was likely executed under the authority of Queen Elizabeth II. Steve Biko's murder, Robert Sobukwe's incarceration and untimely death, all under the authority of the Queen of England. But we are celebrating. But Nigeria, oil, gas, gold, resource rape under the authority of the Queen of England. I'm trying to understand. Jamaica under the Queen of England. I'm trying to understand. All the islands of the Caribbean controlled by the British. All the countries in Africa controlled by the British. And we are celebrating. We are celebrating the 70-year rulership of a woman who has caused more harm to African people globally. We are celebrating the rulership of a woman who has caused more harm to African people globally than almost any single person you can name. What she did to African people since 1952 is worse than what any other leader has ever done to a people in history aside from enslavement itself. And if you want to say she's only the face, she don't make the decisions, well, she damn sure didn't stop it either. She didn't stop the assassination of Dedan Kimathi. She didn't stop the torture of the Kenyan Land and Freedom Army. She didn't stop the overthrow of Osajafo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. She didn't stop the murders of Steve Biko, the incarceration of Robert Sobukwe. So many African leaders around the world lost their lives as a result of Queen Elizabeth II. And we got the authority. And I see Negroes in the chat defending the Queen. I see Negroes in the chat defending the Queen. This is how you know we as African people are at an all-time low. This is how you know that we as African people are at an all-time low. I don't care if British imperialism did not start with her. British imperialism in my life was ran by her. I've never seen a Jew defend the Nazi regime. I've never seen a European Jew defend the Nazi regime, but here go Negropeans on here defending the Queen of England against crimes against African people and humanity. We are in trouble. And to my African leaders, you should be embarrassed. To the former and current British colonies in the Caribbean islands, you should be embarrassed. To my African leaders in Africa of the former British colonies, you should be embarrassed to be celebrating the Queen's Jubilee when that woman oversaw the execution, the torture, the massacre, the lynchings, the castrations, the incarcerations of black people for the last 70 years. Ghana doesn't get her independence until 57. Ghana doesn't get her independence until 57. The Queen was already on the throne when Ghana got her independence. This woman is the face of neo-colonialism. Even if you want to scapegoat her predecessors, you can't scapegoat the fact that she is the face and the mother of the neo-colonization of the African continent and the British islands. If you want to scapegoat somebody else for colonization and slavery, if you want to scapegoat somebody else for colonization and slavery, you cannot scapegoat the fact that she was on the throne in post-colonial Africa, which makes her the face and the force and the power behind the neo-colonization of Africa. How much money are Anglophone African countries paying the Queen right now? How much of the annual income, the annual revenue of former Anglophone British colonies in Africa, how much money is Nigeria paying the Queen every year? How much money is Ghana paying the Queen every year? How much money is Kenya paying the Queen every year? How much money is Malawi paying the Queen every year? How in the hell can African countries celebrate a woman? How can African countries celebrate a woman who is robbing you blind by making you pay a debt that she actually owes to you? African countries are paying debts to European countries that they should be paying to Africa, and you got the audacity to celebrate. You got the audacity to celebrate. We are